This weekend, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Today, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Progressive presents 10 things on a food truck owner's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote. Stocking the fridge, prepping the stations, finding employees that get along well, finding employees that actually do their job. Looking at you, Gary. Balancing the books, balancing the flavors, having a fresh menu and fresh produce and fresh meat, but never a fresh mouth. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
If you've got a honey-do list with electrical, plumbing, heating, or air conditioning projects on it, Any Hour Services can help. Call Any Hour Services, electrical, plumbing, heating, and air. anyhourservices.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Mayor of Sunset being remembered as a friend to all in his city. Howard Madsen passed away at the age of 73. Second, one recommendation to fix the mistrust in Utah's election system is to visit the places where county clerks count votes. And third, the FAA getting a huge boost in funding from the federal government. Right now, 64 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Get deeper insights on the news from Inside Sources.
Well, here's something for you to think a little bit differently about today. Sometimes we talk about all the big numbers coming out of Washington, D.C., and sometimes you get asked the question, well, how can you possibly spend $1.6 trillion? That's a pretty big question. I'd like to find out if I could do it. But it turns out that it's a lot easier to allocate trillions of dollars than it is to actually spend them. And really thrilled to have joining us on the program Jesse Blazer, reporter at Politico. And Politico started a series to take a look at how's the spending going out of these 4 significant landmark pieces of legislation. And Jesse, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Boyd. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
So you have discovered very quickly that it's harder to spend this than I always think. Give me a shot at it. I think I could do it pretty well. But you found it's a little harder than that. Tell us why.
Yeah, no, that's 100% right. And I got to be honest, I found myself thinking the exact same thing throughout this process. But yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. It is, in theory, relatively speaking, easier to allocate the money than it is to spend it. But that's to say that it's really not easy to allocate it either, which I think is part of the reason why this process takes so much time. But our analysis really compiled the energy and climate investments across 4 landmark pieces of legislation under the Biden administration: that climate part of American Rescue Plan, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, Inflation Reduction Act, and CHIPS. And I know that's a lot of sort of alphabet soup when it comes to all of those different laws, but it's a ton of money and a historic investment really across multiple sectors in the country. And what we found was that out of all of the sort of announcements of incoming funding, not all of it has been formally obligated yet, and even less of it has been spent on the ground by recipients, which is to be expected, but actually being able to quantify it and better understand it, I think, is a major step forward.
Yeah, and so dig into that a little bit for us. I think back to President Obama and some of his advancements, some of the things that he passed, and the term was always shovel ready. And a lot of these we find out there's no such thing as shovel ready. But right. What are some of the things that are slowing down the actual spending and, of course, ultimately getting to the results?
Right. Well, I think it's important to remember that all of these laws were passed within the last 3 to 4 years. So they're all fairly recent, to be fair to the administration. And with that, it takes a ton of time to figure out how to allocate this brand new investment that a lot of these laws brought. So there's a ton of time wrapped up in the front end of figuring out exactly how to dole out all of this money, especially when it's going to agencies that are not used to getting such a huge influx in funding, which the IRA in particular really was responsible for in helping sort of support programs that had not gotten that degree of funding in the past. So you have to figure out how to handle that. Then you have to go through the process of finding the right recipients, making sure that they meet the expectations for this money. And it comes with certain strings attached. You have to, comply with certain regulations, and you've got to consider Build America, Buy America, and all sorts of things that can take time to figure out who the right recipient is and to ensure that they're going to spend the money correctly. And then once you find that recipient, you still have to go through a process of negotiation to finalize the award. And then, of course, they have to spend the money. So all of it takes time, and it's just a matter of whether or not voters are recognizing it before the election comes.
Yeah, I think that's so fascinating. And tell us just a little bit more in terms of some of those regulatory hurdles. It always seems like there's a lot of these projects that even everybody across the political spectrum says, "Oh, hey, that's a good thing. Let's go do that." And even those, whether it's something to help the environment or whether it's something that's going to do something in an inner city school. It still seems that whether it's the hiring process, as you said, or whether it's the regulatory red tape, what anything else that you're seeing that is kind of slowing it down?
Yeah, I think one thing to keep in mind is that sometimes when this money is obligated, meaning it's formally awarded from the federal agencies down to the recipients, which those recipients could look like a state government or a local county government or even a local transit agency or a nonprofit, just to give some color to the types of organizations and groups that are receiving this money. For when that money is going to, let's say, a state transportation agency or a water authority, something like that, then they take on the responsibility of, okay, I've got this pot of money now. I have this awarded amount of funds. How do I disperse it across my entire state? So that takes time as well. And then in terms of the regulations, we've compiled a lot of different laws and a lot of different appropriations together. So there's not any sweeping statement that can apply to all of this money. But a lot of it is tied to, certain principles like Build America, Buy America, where you need to take into consideration what your materials you're using to build, to support that infrastructure and that construction, and where those materials come from in order to achieve the goals of the administration, which is really to support those industries domestically within the country. So all of it takes time to figure out and to make sure that you're within compliance. And of course, that takes people on the ground too, and manpower in that capacity.
Yeah, it is so complicated and so many different layers to all of that. And of course, even those, whether it's a state government or a county or a contractor or a nonprofit,
right.
They have to look at that in terms of, okay, is this one-time money? How do we make sure this is a sustainable project moving forward?
Right.
So all of the mental gymnastics there go into it. This is fascinating research. I love that Politico did a deep dive on this. And Jesse, I've got a plan for your next project. I think they should give you $1 billion and me $1 billion and see who can spend it fastest.
That sounds like a great fun project. I'm so 100% down for it.
There you go. We're going to break that news today. It's going to be Jesse versus Boyd for all the money. Who can spend it fastest? Jesse Blazer, reporter at Politico. This is great reporting. Check it out at Politico.com. Jesse, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Boyd. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll step aside for some bottom of the hour news. Yeah, I think I could spend $1 billion, but it sounds like it's a little harder than you might think. Anyway, we'll step aside for bottom of the hour news. More Inside Sources coming up next. Stick around.
It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour: a geomagnetic storm could give northern Utah a look at the aurora borealis tonight. KSL meteorologist Matt Johnson says skies could be clear enough for the northern lights to be visible along the Utah-Idaho state line. The Utah Food Bank participating in the nationwide effort to stamp out hunger this weekend. Utahns being asked to fill the bags that were left on their porches with non-perishable food for letter carriers to pick up tomorrow morning by 9 a.m.
Folks from the Utah Food Bank or local pantries meet them, pick up the food, take it then into warehouse scenarios where it'll be distributed back to people who are food insecure throughout the state.
Jeanette Bott, the president and CEO of the Utah Food Bank, says the letter carriers participating will pick up the bags as they go along their normal mail routes and bring them back to the post office. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: former President Trump says it's not fair for the judge in his hush money trial to impose a gag order on him and not on his former lawyer, Michael Cohen. Cohen expected to testify against Trump in that case. He's accused of falsifying business records that show payments to keep people quiet as legal expenses. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day now, 127 points, while the NASDAQ is down about 10. And our KSL weather looks like, again, a few skies, clouds clearing up to see the northern lights. That's next. KSL News Time, 1:31.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
We have some great news for those of you that love Bedrock Quartz and you live in Summit County. They've got a brand new location, Amanda Dixon.
Yes, and Scott is with us. Scott, tell everyone about this beautiful new store. You're right off the freeway, off the Jeremy Ranch exit.
Yeah, that's right. We're just on Rasmussen Road in the Summit Center. So lots of great neighbors over here. We've been doing work up in Summit County for more than 20 years. We're thrilled to finally have a location here. Yeah, and be more convenient for all the wonderful people that live up in this area.
I remember we were with you at the Spanish Fort grand opening, and you were excited about this. This is a big deal for the family, for the company.
Yeah, this is huge. We've been dying to get out to Park City forever. So finding the perfect spot with the perfect neighbors and the perfect area took some time, but we have arrived.
Now, you've remodeled 2 bathrooms for me since I saw you last week. And I see even new colors of stone that weren't here the last time I saw you.
Oh, yeah. So big news right now at Bedrock Quartz is that we're the first company to ever sell quartzite by the square foot in the state of Utah or Colorado or Wyoming or anywhere else for that matter. So people can come in and look at beautiful quartzite and know that it's just by the square foot like all of our other stones here.
You're giving some away today, too, aren't you?
$5,000 worth, Tim.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, come on down, sign up.
Come in and register. This is location number 7, Layton, Pleasant Grove, West Jordan, St. George, Spanish Fork, Murray, and right here in Park City. Come see us.
Are you stressing about your IRS tax problems? Have you received notices from the IRS threatening to garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, or seize your property? You need an ally. Allies Tax Relief has tax attorneys and enrolled agents that are ready to fight for you. They have saved millions for taxpayers just like you. Allies Tax Relief can help put a stop to IRS collections and, most importantly, negotiate your tax debt. Here's Brenda, a happy client of Allies Tax Relief.
I owed the IRS around $57,000, and they're about to start garnishing my paychecks. I heard a commercial on the radio about Allies Tax Relief, so I thought I'd give them a call. After a day, they were able to at least stop the garnishments, and after a few months of negotiations, I walked away owing the IRS only $301.
If you owe the IRS, call Allies Tax Relief right now for your free consultation. Call 800-230-5174. 800-230-5174. That's 800-230-5174.
This Memorial Day, as we take the day off enjoying the weather and company of others, let's take a minute to honor those who paid the ultimate price, allowing us all of the freedoms we enjoy. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, a veteran myself. Both my wife Brenda and I served in the Marine Corps. We met on a blind date at Camp Lejeune, of all places. I'm glad to have served my country, but I'm even more grateful to the men and women who served and gave the most. I'd be remiss not to mention their families who also sacrificed and dealt with the turmoil caused by losing a hero. Whether you served in the military, are a first responder, or a family member of one of these heroes, we salute you. All of you have earned our utmost respect for helping make this country the greatest country on earth. And, by chance, if you feel there is anything Trajan Wealth can do for you or your loved ones, with the golden rule in mind, we would be honored to help.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
We have emergency traffic brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
3 right lanes blocked due to an accident northbound I-15 in Sunset, so just before 5600 South Roy, going between Davis and Weber counties right now. With traffic getting by on the left, it looks to be only one lane. We have stop-and-go delays almost back to Antelope Drive. Do not use northbound I-15 at this time. You want to consider an alternate route if that's even a possibility. Right now, Highway 89 open going northbound from Farmington to SR 193. After that, it does get a little busy up to I-84. UDOT construction alert. Plan ahead as the northbound I-215 on-ramp to the airport will be closed Friday to Tuesday for bridge maintenance. Plan extra time for an alternate route. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
The winds will taper off through the day. A few thunderstorms possible in central and southern Utah. Then Mother's Day looks mostly sunny and warm. And right now, 64 degrees, partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Hear elevated conversation on crucial issues. Boyd Matheson on Inside Sources. Only a few minutes remain in this challenge to become a KSL Smile Maker. It's the Give-a-thon, and you can provide care for kids in need. Please donate right now at kslkids.com.
Well, it is time for the KSL Give-a-thon. It is an opportunity to do what we always talk about on this show, do something that makes a difference. You can do that by becoming a Smile Maker, and that's really simple. Just set up to have an automatic $15 donation each month. That makes you a Smile Maker. We're going to try to get 3 new Smile Makers before we get to the top of the hour here. But we want to get to the reality of what all of this does and why this matters to us, why it matters to our community, and the difference it makes in individual lives. Alexandra loves to go to school, continues to create beautiful art. In May, her work was part of a Salt Lake City gallery stroll. But Alexandra, at the age of 8, was diagnosed with a degenerative disease that affects many systems of the body.
Alexandra is, well, everyone calls her an angel. For what she goes through on a daily basis, she has this lighthearted demeanor.
I go to high school next year. I'm going to be in 10th grade.
She has a mitochondrial disorder, kind of a rare disease of the power-producing parts of a cell. It affects lots of parts of her physiologies.
I am losing my eyesight a lot, and my hearing loss is getting worse.
My mom always used to say, "You're so good with her." And I said, "Well, I'm not doing anything. She's the one that wakes up and is working so hard to do whatever it is she's trying to do. So my job's the easy part, and she's delightful."
My mitochondria, I do get tired a lot.
Part of the progression of the disease is it's progressive, which means today will be her best day every day. So tomorrow it will be a little harder, but it'll be the best she can be. The hospital has been an open-armed, loving place to go. Of course, I'm her biggest cheerleader, but they are a huge team of backups that really educate her and take it moment by moment to really let her understand what's happening, why we're there again. She's excited to see her doctors. I mean, she embraces all of them.
I have too many doctors.
Her life may not be very long, we don't know, but my hope is as long as it's comfortable and she's happy, what else do you want?
Alexandra is a great inspiration. Amazingly, she sold 33 of her creations to support her rare disease and research and awareness. And it's people like Alexandra who need your help today. So be part of the solution. Do something that makes a difference today. You can go to kslkids.com, or you can just text the word SMILE to 57500. Again, 57500. Just text the word SMILE. That'll turn you into a Smile Maker. $15 a month donation makes all the difference. We're going to try to get at least 3 new Smile Makers before we get to the top of the hour, and that is how we make a difference every day. And as we roll through the end of our week this week, it's always a time when I look back and try to figure out, okay, what really mattered to me this week? What did I learn in particular? That's why I love doing this show, because I get to learn every day. And often it's when I go back to the show, or I go back to one of our guests and re-listen to the interview. I hate to listen to my part of it because I don't like to hear the sound of my own voice, but I love to hear the voices of our guests because they're so inspiring, they're so insightful, and they're so credible. And that's why we bring them on the show. And so if you ever miss a portion of the show or you're really trying to get that next level deep dive, just go to kslpodcast.com, go right to Inside Sources, and every single segment of the show we put into a little mini podcast. And so you can go right to it. And I wanted to share just a couple as we roll through our Friday today that really stood out to me in terms of something that I have gone back to multiple times this week to make sure I'm getting all the insight I need, to get the perspective, to challenge my thinking, and to stay curious. You may remember earlier this week, we spoke with Rabbi Brad Hirschfield, who was actually in some of those border towns near Gaza, and he was talking about something that I just keep going back to, and that is this whole idea of we've got to rethink our own position as well as rethink what we think is the position of those we may disagree with. Here's what he had to say.
I think the simplest thing is, before we begin to ask a lot of questions about other people and their conflicts, ask who we, each of us, see as the good guy and the bad guy, and ask two simple questions. Can we dare to imagine that we, and each we thinks we're always the good guy, are not necessarily as good as we'd like to imagine? And could we imagine that they, who are the bad guy, they really are, whichever bad guy we're identifying, are not quite as bad as we'd like to imagine? Because if we can imagine how we could be a little better, and they may not be as bad as we like to imagine, that's when new solutions can emerge.
New solutions, that's what we're always about. And if we can reimagine just a little bit, sometimes we have to step back and say, now, am I really the good guy here? Or in my good guyness or good galness, am I 100% certain? And if I am 100% certain, then maybe I should be asking some more questions. So are we willing to question that someone else might have a good solution, that someone else might be right, or heaven forbid, that we might be wrong? It's possible. And if we looked across the table at the person we disagree with, and instead of turning them into an evil, awful, horrible, who's not just wrong but evil, and can we say maybe they're not that bad? Maybe their motives are a little more pure than I'm giving them credit for? That's the beginning of solutions. Love that from Rabbi Hirschfield, who called us from Israel, right near the border there in Gaza, with just some extraordinary perspective. Go check out the podcast from that conversation earlier this week. We also had some interesting things playing out just in the last 36 hours as it relates to the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. He gave a short press conference after the failed attempt to vacate the chair and to oust him from his job. And he said that most members agree right now that the country needs a functioning Congress. Here's how he framed it.
In this moment, the country desperately needs a functioning Congress. And that's what the overwhelming majority of the members in this body demonstrated today. We have a great vision for the country. We're not deterred. We have many problems to fix. And I'm going to tell you what you all have heard me say many times. I believe in the goodness of America. I believe in the future of this country.
That's Speaker Mike Johnson. And I thought one of the most instructive portions of his comments over the last few days was his immediate dismissal of any kind of grudge holding, that he would not be holding a grudge. That was not what he was there for. He was there to do the right thing and to move forward. And he can disagree with people, but he's showing that there's a different way to govern. And I love that. Whether you like his politics or not, whether you think he's doing a great job or not, he is doing something as Speaker of the House that's changing the dynamic in the House. And that's important. That is a town built on dysfunction and a lot of grudge holders, whether it's the people in office or the staff and the people around them. Grudges are often the coin of the realm, and I hope the Speaker, Mike Johnson, says, you know what, let's be done with that and let's move forward. He's shown that there's a governing body there. 359 members of Congress said, we're going to table this nonsense about vacating the chair so that we can govern. That's an extraordinary number. You don't get that many votes on any particular bill, but to do it to table that motion, I thought was significant. And then finally, another great learning from the week, good friend of the show, former Senator Ben Sasse from Nebraska. He's now the president of the University of Florida. When he was asked about campus protests and why things are a little more calm at the University of Florida, he said their approach is just a little bit different.
We just don't negotiate with people who scream the loudest. It just doesn't make any sense to me. We believe in the right of free speech. We believe in the right of free assembly, and you can try to persuade people. But what you see happening on so many campuses across the country is instead of drawing the line at speech and action, a lot of universities bizarrely give the most attention to what we're going to do here.
That's an important message for all of us. We should not give all the attention and all the oxygen to those who can scream the loudest or be the angriest. One of the other things that President Sass, we'll call him now, from the University of Florida, said that that morning he had gone out for his morning run, and he went past the area on campus where protesters were gathering for the day. And he went by and waved and shook hands and said, "We'll protect your right to protest." And then there's no camping on the University of Florida campus. Doesn't matter if you're the basketball team, the band, or the debate society. Nobody camps on campus, so no encampments on campus. And off you go. And so it's getting to that different kind of conversation. That is where we have to go. And those were just a few examples from the week of things that have kept coming back to me that I've been noodling on and thinking about as I go through the week. And hopefully it gives you a chance to think again about all of those things and gain some important perspective. And as I said, you can go to kslpodcast.com and pick up any segment of the show at any time to help you rethink it or to take a little deeper dive with some of our extraordinary guests. All right, we're going to step aside for a quick break. We'll come back. More Inside Sources coming up next. Be a smile maker, 57500. Just text the word SMILE or go to kslkids.com.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You may not be interested in everything we talk about, but I guarantee you listen for 3 hours, we're going to hit several things.
Everything from politics to how the economy is impacting your family's pocketbook.
Listen for Dave and Dujanovic 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
Hello again, Tim and Amanda. We are at the beautiful new location of Bedrock Quartz here in Park City at the Summit Center, 2760 Rasmussen Road. It is the frontage road on the east side of I-80, so it's easy to find.
And we're here with Scott Nichols. Scott, I want people to know that this process doesn't have to be a nightmare, that you can come in, tell them about the process and how long it takes.
So the process is quite easy. The showroom will guide you through the decision making. So you'll come in and you'll see, hey, choose your countertop material. You'll see all the choices there. Choose your sink and faucet. And now let's go look at your tile. So it's all very easy and linear. And in most cases, it's 7 to 10 days from template to installation. So
that's crazy.
It can be quick and not so disruptive.
Yes.
But you know.
I know because you've done two you're working on a third for me right now.
Yeah,
Here's the other thing. If you come in here and you're a little overwhelmed because there's 100 different colors and styles to choose from, you have design professionals that'll help you figure that out.
That's true. And look, the people here are not commissioned salespeople, right? These are not like high-pressure sales. These are people that are here to help you walk through the process, leverage their years of training on design to help you make good choices.
Yeah, you've really been a help with us. And I want people to come down and see for themselves, Tim, what they can do here in Park City.
And have it done in a jiffy at your house. It's one of 7 locations now. They're proud to tell you. Bedrock Quartz. Here's the address again, 2760 Rasmussen Road in Park City.
Here's an easy tip from Jordan Valley Water to know when it's time to water your lawn. If you step on your grass and it pops right back up again, you don't need to water yet. For more tips, visit waittowater.com.
Emergency traffic on KSL News Radio, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. We have a crash northbound I-15 prior to 5600 South in Roy. That's blocking multiple right lanes of travel. So far, we have stop-and-go delays back to Antelope Drive. You want to consider avoiding northbound I-15 between Layton Hills Mall and up to Riverdale and use an alternate route. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Spring is a great time to elevate the look of your home and landscape by adding beautiful flowers to the yard and patio. And pros and hobbyists alike know that the best flowers are grown by Olson's Greenhouse, right here in the mountain valleys of Utah. This is Brian with Olson's Greenhouse, and my family has been growing flowers with love and care for over 80 years. That's 4 generations of a local, family-run Utah business. So whether you're looking to add a pop of color to the back patio or a beautiful flower bed to the front landscape, Flowers from Olson's Greenhouse are the perfect finishing touch to make your yard a joy to relax in. Stop by ogg.com or find us on Instagram at Olson's Greenhouse Gardens, where you'll find inspiring photos to get you going on your flower gardening journey. You can also find a local retailer carrying plants from Olson's Greenhouse. That's ogg.com for Olson's Greenhouse Gardens, where you can dream big, dream bold, and dream in color with beautiful plants and flowers from Olson's Greenhouse.
Introducing Peach Doors and Windows. Are you ready to upgrade your home with stunning new doors but are overwhelmed with how to begin? Peach Doors is here to make the entire process smooth and stress-free. Visit their showroom to see their wide selection of wood doors, durable fiberglass, energy-efficient aluminum, oversized glass bifold doors, and so much more. It's not just about looks, it's about durability and security to protect what matters most. Let them help you find the perfect match for your home, budget, and personal style. Visit their showroom and see for yourself. No pushy sales tactics, only guidance from their experienced staff. No inflated markups just to offer so-called discounts. See their 5-star reviews where customers rate them on their attention to detail through every step of the sale and installation process. Amazing home transformations begin with windows and doors. Serving Logan to St. George, just Google Peach Building to see for yourself.
The sun is out and the temps are up. It's time to seize the day and hit the road. You were born to ride, and now's the time to make your dreams a reality. Imagine the wind in your hair as you cruise on your very own power scooter. Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical, and these scooters aren't just for getting around. They're your ticket to freedom. With speeds up to 6 miles per hour, you'll own the road like never before. From graduation to concerts and vacations, our power scooters will get you there in style and ease. Don't wait another minute. The time to ride is now. Let's start your adventure today. Visit us online at alpinehomemedical.com. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
The Good Feet Store, the life you love, starts here.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, seeing is believing for some people who've been skeptical of election security in Utah. Second, skies could be clear enough overnight to see a rare sight, the Northern Lights. And third, Grand County search and rescue teams say they rescued a hiker from the top of a hoodoo at Pucker Pass last weekend. 64 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Get deeper insights on the news from Inside Sources.
One of the fastest growing sectors of technology in the modern world is, of course, the realm of space technology. The capabilities of other space programs around the world is growing rapidly. For example, India is aiming for a human crewed spaceflight mission next year, or in 2025. As things stand now, the U.S. holds a lot of advantages, of course, in the space program, but advantages are one of those things that unravel or disappear pretty quickly. And so we want to take a look at the state of the final frontier, where we actually are, and what needs to come next. Todd Harrison's a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, where he focuses on defense strategy and budgeting, the defense industrial base, and, of course, space policy and security. Todd, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So give us kind of a lay of the land. Where are we as it relates to the, kind of this, you've dubbed it the third space race. Where are we with the United States?
Well, you know, we've got a substantial lead right now. If you just look at the past year, 2023, there were about 211 successful space launches last year. 103 of those were from the United States, 66 from China. You know, if you look at the number of satellites launched just last year, you know, the United States is launching about 4 times as many satellites as the rest of the world combined. We've just got a fantastic, you know, set of, you know, companies in our commercial space sector that are just churning out innovation after innovation, and it's really propelling us ahead.
Yeah.
And when I look at that, you know, you also see China is working hard to copy what our country, what our companies are doing, and to counter our military advantages in space. So We've got a great position now, but we can't rest on our laurels.
Yeah, I want to dig into that. I always say that the most dangerous day in the life of an organization is the day you hit number one, or you grab market share, or you're really dominating the market, because it's so easy, as you said, to rest on your laurels, to drift into that comfort zone of mediocrity, or just doing kind of the minimum standard. So, what are some of the things that you're keeping your eye on, Todd, when it comes to keeping that advantage and keeping that standard of excellence high?
Yeah. Well, one of the things I talk about in the report is that our advantage right now, it's built on technology. Technology is a fleeting source of advantage, right? Because others can invent the same technology.
Right.
And so really, I think we've got to dig a bit deeper, and we need to start building our advantage based on things that are more immutable. And talking about a competition with China, and this really is largely a bipolar competition in space between the U.S. and China. What is a distinct advantage we have? Well, it's our free market economic system. It's our access to capital because of rule of law within our country, and it's our open society. And all of those things combine to give us a distinct, enduring advantage when it comes to innovation. So it's not just the technology, it's our innovation base and our ability to pick up the pace of innovation. So I look at this from, a U.S. government policy perspective. We just need to do whatever we can to help foster that innovation that is naturally occurring in our system and get out of the way where we need to.
Yeah, get out of the way where we need to. I think that's an important thing. I loved in the report you talked about that combination of free market, open society, access to capital, and then really enabling that engine of innovation to keep driving things forward. There's also some recommendations within the report. Give us, what is the most important piece of those recommendations that kind of drives the rest?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, the first and foremost recommendation is we got to reduce obstacles for our space companies. When it comes to space launch, our FAA, Office of Commercial Space Transportation, they just don't have enough workers to process all of the requests for launch licenses. And so that is delaying the development and testing of new launch vehicles. That's a fixable problem. You just need to add a few dozen people, literally, and that would speed up the licensing process. Also, the way we regulate some things in the U.S., other countries, even our close allies and partners, don't regulate them the same way. So a good example is commercial space remote sensing, so satellites that can take pictures of the Earth, essentially. Mm-hmm. We require all of those satellites to get a license from the government. Allies like France and Australia and others, they don't require any licensing. We slow down our companies by burdening them with this licensing process. There's really no need for that anymore. So I think those are areas where we can start peeling back some of the regulations that just aren't serving the public interest. Yeah. That's the first place I would start.
That's fantastic perspective, and it is often that regulatory stuff that just slows it down, prevents that ability to just move swiftly in that whole process. Great perspective. Todd Harrison, Senior Fellow at AEI, again, focuses on these important components. A great report, and appreciate you joining us. I look forward to having you back. I want to keep this conversation rolling because I think there's a lot of things out there in space that we can do better and that will give us that competitive advantage. Todd, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And that's Todd Harrison from American Enterprise Institute. We do have an advantage, but it's precarious because it's based on technology that tends to fade pretty fast. And then it's up to our own drive for excellence, getting government out of the way where it needs to be, and letting the free market really drive it into space. All right, that wraps up hour number one of Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. We'll step aside for top of the hour news. Don't go anywhere. More Inside Sources coming up next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office has released the names of the two men killed in an avalanche yesterday. They've been identified as Utah resident Andrew Cameron, age 23, and Montana resident Austin Mallett, age 32. They were killed in the slide in Lone Peak Canyon yesterday, which also swept up a third person. That person survived and has already been released from the hospital. Consumer sentiment in Utah, a measure of the optimism people have about the state's economy, dropped about 2.2% in April. The Gardner Policy Institute at the University of Utah says it was down across the country by 2.8%. A news release says the decline suggests growth in Utah's economy is decelerating. Russian troops are pushing further into Ukraine before the additional aid authorized by the United States can arrive. ABC's Patrick Reevell is there.
The attack, which was with armored vehicles following a major artillery barrage, was focused on the city of Vovchansk, which is about 60 kilometers east of Kharkiv, which is Ukraine's second largest city.
Ukrainian officials say they've been able to repel the attack so far. The Dow Jones average up on the day, 124 points right now. The NASDAQ, though, down just a fraction. And just ahead, we'll be looking at kind of clear skies before the northern lights get here tonight. That's next. KSL News Time 201.
When the weather warms up, it's like a stampede, except instead of dust stirred up by hundreds of hooves, it's a cascade of phone calls to Advanced Window Products. This is Jeff Caplan. Soon as the sun shines and the snow's gone, people want new windows and frames from Utah's #1 custom window maker, and the wait for installation grows longer. But right now, you can get near the front of the line by calling for a quote and get $2,500 off when you purchase 10 windows or more. That's on top of the incredible savings for the highest quality double-pane windows and frames, any style, any color. See, at Advanced Window Products, they actually build the windows here in Utah, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. There's no middleman, and they can pass the savings on to you. They even offer buy now, pay later. So get in before the wait grows longer and get the $2,500 off. Get your new windows this spring. Make the call. Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or visit AdvancedWindowsUSA.com.
Advertising used to be simple. Your options were radio, TV, newspaper, and let's not forget the yellow pages. Now it seems like a tidal wave of options. Podcast, cable TV, streaming, OTT, CTV, audio networks, smart speakers. On top of that, you need digital marketing for your website along with SEM, SEO, display, video, YouTube, email, and all the social media platforms. Look, you're the expert in your business. Wouldn't it be nice to have an expert to market you? We are Bonneville Salt Lake, the local marketing and media company you know and trust. We reach customers across all digital and social platforms and have the reach of traditional advertising available as well. We find your customer anytime, any place, anywhere on any device here in Utah or anywhere in the world. We work to optimize your results with our in-house local team of experts, providing you with qualified leads, not just impressions. Contact Stephanie Palmer at KSL for a free consultation, including a complete digital audit with no obligation or cost to you. Email spalmer@ksl.com. That's spalmer@ksl.com.
Held over due to popular demand. This is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Today, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
It's time for the KSL Give-a-thon.
We need your help raising money for sick Utah kids receiving treatment at Primary Children's Hospital.
Go to KSLkids.com and donate today.
Be a smile maker. An automatic gift each month helps save the lives of children all year long.
Sponsored by J&J Garden Center in Layton.
A big thanks to other generous sponsors, including the Utah Hyundai dealers, for their amazing support of the kids at Primary Children's.
The KSL Give-a-thon. We can't do it without you. Please give today at KSLkids.com.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
We could see clouds clearing up tonight in time to see the northern lights that are supposed to be visible from the Utah-Idaho state line. A few thunderstorms also possible in central and southern Utah, and Mother's Day looks mostly sunny and warm. Right now, 63 degrees and partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
We've been talking a lot over the last couple of weeks about many of the first freedoms. And as we look at those, whether it's free speech, the ability to assemble, of course, the freedom of religion. And as we look at this area of freedom of religion, it's interesting. We often take that one for granted here in the United States, but there's a new report out issued every year on the state of religious freedom around the world. And it might be a little surprising and even a little shocking beyond the headlines. You've heard me say it often on this show that if you want to have faith in the future of the world, you have to have faith in the future of the world. Let's begin.
Think you know the news of the day? Think again with Boyd Matheson on KSL News Radio.
Well, every year there is a global assessment on the state of religious freedom around the planet. We're going to dive into some of those numbers and some of the things that might cause you to think again and maybe even be just a little grateful, whether you are a person of faith or a person of no faith. There is a huge impact by people of faith and organizations of faith in our communities every single day. And I actually want to go back to a conversation we had yesterday. We pulled a little bit from a podcast on the Washington Post called Impromptu. And in it, a Muslim believer, Shadi Hamid, talked about politics and religion and this trend downward, of course, in terms of church attendance, but the negative effect that it's actually happening in terms of American polarization and society.
The way I feel about this is be careful what you wish for, that a lot of us maybe had this idea that as religion declines, people will become more rational, reasonable, tolerant, that will have less divisiveness. But I think one can make the argument that it hasn't turned out that way. We can look at the last 25 years, this precipitous decline in church attendance. In the last 25 years, we've seen a sudden drop to just under 50%. So we're talking about a massive cultural change. In that 25-year period, it doesn't seem like the U.S. has become more consensus-oriented or unified or tolerant. If anything, ideological and political fragmentation and polarization have risen. We're living in a moment of existential politics where every election feels like the most important one in our lives. And so I think one way of seeing this is that political intensity is replacing religious intensity as the grounding force of what Americans believe in.
Now, really interesting, as Shadi Hamid continued on this podcast from the Washington Post, he talked about the way that many of the secularists have said that if we could make the country a little less religious, that it would be a more rational, more thoughtful political environment, the way communities would be governed and so on, that free from this religious influence, that those passions would be tamped down and things would be much more civil and thoughtful and rational and reasonable. Sadly, as we've seen the decline in participation in faith, those numbers have gone in the opposite direction.
I think the argument of a lot of secular or non-religious people is that religion is divisive, it's inherently polarizing, and the less we have of it in public life, the more secularized we become, the more we can move our politics to the realm of fact and objective analysis, and we no longer have the same kinds of religious passions polluting things. I think that is a widespread perception. Obviously not many Americans don't agree with that, but I think that there was this sense of a kind of secular promised land where we have a different kind of more rational politics, but we don't have that.
So really interesting to look at that just here in the United States of America. I still, of all the guests we've had on this show, I think the person who has made the best case for religious freedom and religious rights and liberties in the country is actually an atheist. Jonathan Rauch from Brookings has been on the show a number of times. He is a great thinker, and he is someone who is an atheist and says we need faith in the public square. We don't just need to have people have faith. We need people to be able to take their whole authentic faith into the public square, because that is where all the things that happen that really matter get done. So really interesting. So now let's take it a little more internationally in terms of what is going on and a lot of the things that we take for granted here in the United States of America. Really interesting that in this annual report on the state of faith around the world and religious liberty, several governments engaged in some pretty heavy-duty repression when it comes to silencing religious minorities, especially those that advocate abroad. China, of course, is the most prolific, sophisticated, comprehensive, and far-reaching perpetrator of transnational repression, not just trying to control those inside of their country, but any who are connected to it outside of the country. The Indian government similarly engaged in increased acts of transnational repression to target religious minorities living in that space. And so really interesting there. Also, a lot of laws restricting religious freedom, and many of those come in interesting ways. There's a number of blasphemy laws that continue to mount. They've really become one of the big challenges to religious freedom by punishing acts or expression deemed insulting or offensive. And so, again, we don't have that problem here in the United States. We don't have to worry about it, but a lot of places do. And it's one of those that we often take for granted. In fact, the report stated that 96 countries around the world retain national-level blasphemy legislation. A number of European states passed and enforced laws that restricted expression deemed insulting and kind of beyond the pale there. There's also a number of attacks against religious sites in many of the armed conflicts. These are things that are always devastating to me, regardless of what your faith tradition is. But when you have governments, particularly Russia, going in to Ukraine, where they utilized launch attacks targeting mosques, churches, sanctuaries, those are all things that, again, those are worrisome trends to me as those continue to mount around the world. There's also some interesting things in the report around religious minorities during elections. So whether that's discrimination straight up, whether it's hateful rhetoric against certain religious minorities, whether it's specific attacks just leading up to or during election days or election seasons, all of those are really challenging. Of course, we've talked a lot about the rise of anti-Semitism. Anti-Muslim hatred has also been on the rise around the world. And we're going to dig into these a little bit more next week when we get into the program to look at all of the impacts of what is and what isn't happening when it comes to religious freedom around the world. And one that we didn't get to today that we'll get to next week for sure is the impact on refugees. We know that there's 110 million people forcibly displaced worldwide, 35 million refugees, and often their religious persecution or discrimination in their home countries is part of that. So there's a whole host of things that we'll dig into there as well. So a lot to think about when it comes to the space of religious liberty and religious freedom around the world. There's a lot to be concerned about. There's a lot to be hopeful for. But it all begins with each of us right here at home and valuing the differences, recognizing the contributions to society, and then seeing the dignity and the divinity in our fellow travelers. We'll be right back.
Think again on Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson. More than $3 billion.
Sustainability is incredibly important to us.
For a new downtown.
Is this an old school way of thinking about city planning?
Where will the money come from and how long will the project take? Get updates mornings and afternoons. Downtown revitalization.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Hi again, it's Tim and Amanda, and we are live today at the brand new Bedrock Quartz location in Park City at 2760 Rasmussen Road, and Scott Nichols is back with us.
Scott, I want you to tell everybody that they can come enter to win. How much money did you say?
$5,000
in product.
Yeah.
So that would go a long way to
Absolutely.
a bathroom or a kitchen or whatever they want to do.
Yeah, come on down, sign up. Basic information. We promise not to spam you, but you will get into the running for $5,000 worth of countertops, sinks, tile, faucets, whatever you need.
Tell us about this quartz site, because it's special.
It's wild. So we're trying this crazy experiment here at Bedrock Quartz. We're the first place, I think, in the West to try this, where we're selling quartzite by the square foot. So you're only going to get charged for whatever your installed square footage is on this highly desirable material.
Wow. You know, you're working on the third bathroom for us right now. And I want everybody to know it's wonderful to work with someone who's there when they say they're going to be there, gets it done when they say they're going to get it done, and it looks beautiful.
And that's not just because you're famous. I want you to know, we treat all of our clients that way.
Yeah.
You know, it's very important to be respectful of people's time and be good communicators.
Well, and it's one of the reasons why this great company has existed in Utah since 1976. Fourth-generation family-owned countertop company. We talked to Alan Jorgensen earlier.
Yeah.
Come see them in Park City. Now you'll find one near you, I'm sure, in Layton, Pleasant Grove, West Jordan, St. George, Spanish Fork, Murray, and where we are at this brand new location in Park City.
Woohoo!
Where does a journey to wellness begin? Do you start looking for diet ideas? Or searching for exercise plans? Actually, you don't have to look far. Just look to the first two letters of the word wellness. We means you don't have to figure it out yourself. It means your hopes and challenges are a perfect match for our knowledge and resources. It means anything you want to achieve, together, we can achieve better. Because wellness begins with we. Intermountain Health, the power of we.
Emergency traffic on KSL News Radio continues, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. We have an accident with injuries northbound I-15 in Sunset, blocking 2 right lanes of travel. With only 1 lane of travel getting by, we have stop-and-go delays now reaching Hillfield Road. As a result, SR 193 and Highway 89 both are filling in, but it's Highway 89 taking the hit northbound with delays from Layton up to I-84. UDOT construction alert, plan ahead as the northbound I-215 on-ramp to the airport will be closed Friday to Tuesday for bridge maintenance. Plan extra time for an alternate route. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Looking for a secure retirement plan without market risk? Look no further. Lyle Boss, president of Boss Financial, specializes in no market risk retirement strategies with guarantees of principal, guaranteed growth, and lifelong income. Join Lyle right here each Saturday and Sunday for his Safe Money radio show and call him now at 855-355-SAFE for your complimentary customized Safe Money information kit and Safe Money book. Nothing but upside here at 855-355-SAFE.
Guys, are you ready to give up because you think you've tried everything and you're still dealing with loss of energy, poor sleep, weight gain, and even ED? Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City has local medical providers that offer low T and ED treatments customized to each patient's unique physical makeup. By working with a specialized compounding lab, personalized treatments are guaranteed, even when generic pills and supplements haven't worked. It all starts with your free comprehensive exam and consultation. Availability is limited. Book today, and for this month only, Revive offers qualified patients a free 1-month supply of personalized ED medication, plus a free ED treatment producing immediate results. The experts at Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City will work to provide the right treatment for you so you can show up as the best you in all aspects of your life. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or send them a private message at ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Paris RVs put 3 incredible RVs together at the same price, and we're calling it the Paris RV Triple Play. 3 2024 RVs at the same price. Your choice. Only $14,995 or $175 a month. Nothing down. Choose the Forest River Wolf Den 16 EV, the Cruiser RV 17 BH Avenir, or the Heartland Prowler 17 BHX. 3 amazing RVs as we knock the price out of the park at all 4 locations: North Murray, South Murray, Payson, and Eastern Idaho. Go to ParisRV.com. Paris RV is your locally owned, family-run RV dealership. We strive hard to find the very best RVs for the price. With 4 locations, over 1,000 RVs in stock, 42 service bays, and 4 super parts stores, we're sure to help take your family on the best RV vacation. Check out our perfect family bunkhouse trailer, the 26BH, that sleeps 9 for $19,995 or $227 a month. Zero down. Life is short. Enjoy it. North Murray, South Murray, Payson, and Pocatello. ParisRV.com.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, police have released the names of the 2 men killed in yesterday's avalanche. They were Andrew Cameron from Utah and Austin Mallett from Montana. Second, a Grand County search and rescue team was able to reach a stranded hiker stuck in a hoodoo with steep drops all around. Third, Russian troops have opened up a new attack in northern Ukraine. Right now, 64 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Hear elevated conversation on crucial issues. Boyd Matheson on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It's great to be with you today. As always, I am Boyd Matheson. We've been covering for a few months now the many challenges that have faced the free application for federal student aid program, or FAFSA for short, and the many challenges it has created for students, for families, and I guess for the Department of Education as well. And so we're looking at, where are they? What has changed? Have they made any progress or improvement? And what does this look like in the future? And so, of course, we turn to Emma Camp, assistant editor at Reason, and great writer, great thinker. And Emma, welcome back to the show. And so give us a little bit of an update. Has the needle moved at all when it comes to this whole FAFSA process and where families and students actually are?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. So, yes, in terms of where things are right now, we are at about a 24% lower completion rate than we were this time last year. And the deadline for completing the FAFSA is rapidly approaching, and we're past the date where students typically have to decide where to go to college. So to back up a little bit and explain how we got here, in 2020, Congress passed the Consolidated Appropriations Act. It was this really big bill, and one part of it is that it required the Education Department to develop a streamlined FAFSA. So the FAFSA, if you've been to college, if you have a kid that's going to college, you probably filled out this form before. It's a financial aid form that is required if you want federal loans or grants, so something like a Pell Grant, but also most colleges use it when determining the amount of financial aid you're going to get from the school. So it's very important to fill this out if you're trying to go to college. And so the idea of creating a simplified form seems perfectly fine on its face. The problem is that the form the Education Department produced was just a buggy, glitchy mess. Parents and students were having a really hard time filling it out. The FAFSA's own website details literally dozens of different bugs and errors. There was one bug for students whose parents didn't have a Social Security number, usually students who have an undocumented parent, where they just couldn't fill out the form at all. In March, there was an issue where 200,000 students who had their own assets, so say like money from a summer job, their forms, even if they sent them in, were miscalculated. And it's just creating so much chaos for students because they can't get their FAFSAs in, and for colleges because colleges are getting delayed information or even no information at all. So they have no idea what to tell kids, like how much money they're actually being offered. And so the Education Department has been able to fix some of the bugs, but we're still seeing massively depressed FAFSA completion rates. and not a huge indication that things are going to be all that much better next year.
Yeah, and so as you look at that 24% drop, that is such a big number. And you think of all of the students, all of the families that are trying to make those tough decisions of what can we afford, what help can we get. I think those are so crucial. And then as you mentioned, Emma, just the schools themselves, it's hard for them to sort it out if they don't know who's actually eligible or who they can give that grant or that funds to. And so, of course, in classic Washingtonian focus, the department decided that the best thing to do would be to throw some money at the problem because that always seems to help things. Is it helping? It sounds like we got a few glitches sorted out, but are we anywhere near where we need to be? And what does that do for everything moving forward?
Yeah, so that particular cash dump, the Education Department recently announced that they were going to spend $50 million on efforts to increase FAFSA completion. That seems to mostly be geared towards next year. So the idea is to fund community centers, schools, basically people to help usher students through the process. But of course, I think what a lot of people are probably thinking right now is, well, I'd much rather just have the FAFSA be simple enough that I could complete it on my own.
Yeah.
I could just do it myself without having to go somewhere and have someone, walk me through this form. And the whole point was to make it simpler, right? And the form is shorter, but it is much more of a nightmare to complete. And as USA Today recently reported, normally by February or March, the Education Department has a draft version of the following year's FAFSA that they release for comment, and they haven't done that yet. So it isn't precisely clear that the money will help. And of course, I think if the Education Department is going to spend this money, I think everyone would rather they just spend it on fixing the FAFSA in the first place.
Yeah, let's just fix that. Especially when I read that in your piece, Emma, that normally they have this draft version for next year in February, March. Here we are getting to the middle of May, which is hard to fathom. But here we are in the middle of May, and we haven't seen the draft version of the form for next year. Are we going to be stuck in this? It seems like it's a tricky thing for the administration as they talk about, student debt relief on one hand, and yet here we are on the front end, some things that should be pretty simple and straightforward to get people on a good path. Seems to be like we're missing the mark.
Oh, yes, for sure. It is not entirely clear when this is going to get turned around. I think this is going to go down in history similarly to the launch of healthcare.gov as this huge sort of website blunder. And it is really frustrating and scary for families, right? There are a lot of people who are in a situation where they have to commit to a college without knowing how much they're going to be on the hook for. And so that can be really frustrating. And with the FAFSA, you have to apply every year if you want the financial aid. And so these same people are probably going to be trapped in this next year if nothing changes.
Fascinating perspective. Emma Camp, assistant editor at Reason. You can check out her piece at reason.com. Emma, thanks for joining us on a Friday. Great perspective. And hopefully some of those dollars and cents will make the forms actually make sense so we can get those students and their families the help that they actually need. Emma, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks.
All right, and that's Emma Camp, assistant editor at Reason. And this is just one of those classic examples of something went wrong, and then it got worse by not doing anything in the beginning when they recognized there was a problem, and then doing the classic congressional move or the department move of, well, we'll just allocate $50 million so we can help more students complete the form. But sadly, it's going mostly to advisors and counselors and coaches to have people come into them and help them walk through the process. The whole idea, FAFSA exists to make it simpler and easier for students and their families to do it at home and to go through the process and then be able to figure out and know with some certainty what kind of assistance they're going to get so they can decide which college or university should they attend. And the same on the back end. Schools are struggling because they don't know who's actually going to be able to make it because nobody knows if they're getting a grant or they're getting a certain award or whatever it might be, a financial aid in some form or fashion. And so because of that, we're in this vicious cycle, but rarely, if ever, is the right move to just throw more money at the problem. You have to throw more attention to where the problem began and then fix it. I know that's not nearly as jazzy, doesn't make a great headline or a bumper sticker or something you can send out in a fundraising email, but it is how we actually solve the problems. Putting the dollars ahead of some real thoughtful determination as to the problem is actually the best way to get it fixed. All right, we'll step aside for some bottom of the hour news. More Inside Sources coming up next. Stick around. We'll be right back.
It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomis. KSL's top story this hour. The names of the two men who were killed in an avalanche on Lone Peak yesterday have now been released by police. They've been identified as Andrew Cameron from Utah. He was 23. And Austin Mallett from Montana. He was 32. They were swept down a slide at Lone Peak yesterday. A third person was also caught in the slide. That person survived, and the police are not planning to release his name. A Grand County search and rescue team helped an injured hiker get down from a hoodoo at Pucker Pass in Long Canyon last weekend. A news release says there were steep drops around the spot where the man in his 60s had become stranded. An EMT was able to get him into a harness and helmet and helped him climb out on a ladder. Your top national story this hour from ABC News. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says Israel could protect civilians as it continues its operations in Gaza.
Is it possible to conduct effective operations and protect civilians? Absolutely, it's possible. We clearly believe that, and that's what we endeavor to do in any operation that we conduct. The Israeli military is a professional military, and again, they have the ability to do both of those.
The United States has held a shipment of bombs meant for Israel to show its concern for civilians in Rafah. Your money at this moment, at the close of trading, the Dow was up 125 points, the NASDAQ down 5, the S&P 500 was up 8. And our KSL weather. Clouds could clear up enough to see the northern lights tonight. That's next. KSL News Time 2:31.
Jeff Caplan.
When I was a kid, my parents got me a subscription to Newsweek magazine. I would devour every page into the night. And to this day, I sit on my iPad looking for stories for my Minute of News, flesh out our coverage, and I get to share the news with you.
Jeff Caplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Tim and Amanda broadcasting live today at the Park City location. It's the grand opening of the new Bedrock Quartz location.
And we're here with Scott Nichols. And Scott, I want to invite everyone to come and see the showroom here. There's one in your neighborhood now. You've got 7 locations.
Yeah, that's the whole idea, is hopefully we're not more than about 20 minutes away from you wherever you are in Utah. So come see us.
Here's what I love. We talk about, coming in and looking for any style, but you guys will handle any budget, too, which I think is more important for people right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially these days. We've got a huge 100 different colors to choose from, and there are some really budget-friendly options on the lower end and some great things in the mid-tier. And then if you want to swing from the fences in an area, we've got that too. So.
And I love the way you walk through the showroom. So first you started this, and you pick out this, and then you go and you pick out the sink and the faucet, and then you go and pick out the backsplash.
Right. I mean, when somebody's doing an update, the last thing you want to deal with is 5 different contractors trying to put this thing together. We're trying to be a one-stop shop where really we can handle all of that for you and lower your blood pressure during this difficult time.
Right.
Well, and here's why. It's your time and their time. I mean, you install 30 kitchens a day, and you turn them around in 7 days, which people just can't believe.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, we're a high technology shop. We've got a 125,000 square foot factory in West Jordan that runs 24 hours a day, creating new kitchens for all of our happy clients.
Come and see us here in Park City. We are at the brand new location in the Summit Center, which is 2760 Rasmussen Road.
That's right, it's me again, and I'm at J&J Garden Center in Layton, the best place to shop for Mother's Day, where they have something special for every mom, and of course at a special price. Right now, all hanging baskets are 20% off, all flats of flowering bedding plants are just $22.98, and all 4.5-inch geraniums are 20% off too. That's incredible. J&J Garden Center definitely has the best products at the best price. So give Mom something special this Mother's Day with a special purchase from J&J Garden Center in Layton. Take the Layton Parkway exit, Main Street to Gentile, then west 2 miles. You've got to see it to believe it. You really do.
Country grown to your home, J&J Garden Center.
Achieving the extraordinary, getting things done. That's the Utah way. And that's Brad Wilson. He delivered the biggest tax cut Utah's ever seen, keeping more money in your pocket. And on the Second Amendment, when others caved, Brad Wilson stood tall, enacted constitutional carry. Wilson stood up to the EPA, sued Joe Biden to protect Utah's energy industry, and won. And when others backed down on illegal immigration, Wilson didn't buckle. He banned sanctuary cities. In the U.S. Senate, he'd bring the Utah way to Washington, taking Joe Biden's agenda head on. That's why over 60 mayors, 22 sheriffs, and leading conservatives across Utah are supporting Brad Wilson for U.S. Senate, because Brad Wilson's the tested, trusted Utah conservative for U.S. Senate. Join them and thousands more supporting Brad Wilson at electbradwilson.com.
I'm Brad Wilson, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Wilson for Senate.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the nines, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
We're still looking at emergency traffic, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
The crash with injuries northbound I-15 just before 5600 South Roy is still blocking a couple of right lanes of travel. And that's why we have a parking lot that continues on northbound I-15, backing traffic all the way past Hillfield Road in Layton. If you're thinking of using Highway 89 to go northbound, that's also jammed up Layton up to the I-84 junction. SR 193 also seeing overflow delays. I also want to mention, in addition to the right lanes blocked, the exit at 5600 South is also blocked. So with one lane of travel, we are dealing with massive delays. You need to avoid northbound I-15. Don't go past Kaysville and use an alternate route or delay your travel time. When adventure calls, a new Murdoch Hyundai is the answer. Lease a new 2024 Tucson for only $365 per month or 3.99% for 5 years. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And clouds will clear up in far northern Utah tonight, enough possibly to let us see the northern lights. The chance of showers will go down tomorrow. Mother's Day should be mostly sunny. And right now we're at 63 degrees, partly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Boyd Matheson divides rage from reason on Inside Sources.
For decades, Social Security has been a bedrock of retirement security for millions of Americans. And as we've been reporting for a long time now, the latest report shows some pretty sobering wake-up call kinds of things we should be paying attention to in terms of the underpinning of that security or non-security. As we look at that and what we do next, obviously Congress needs to take some action, but we shouldn't always just sit around waiting for Congress to act. We know that's usually very slow, and it may be a day late and a dollar short. So there's some things that we should be doing on our own to make sure we have confidence in our security for the future. Michelle Singletary gets it. If you're not reading her regularly in the Washington Post, you should add that to your list right now. She has a nationally syndicated personal finance column called The Color of Money, of course, which appears in the Washington Post. And Michelle, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
So your latest piece just struck I don't know if it struck a chord or struck a nerve for me in terms of what we need to be doing. Obviously, the program current models show maybe to 2033. I know a lot of young people today are convinced they're more likely to see Elvis than they are to see a Social Security check.
Yeah.
And you say all of those things are true and right, and there's things that we ought to be doing on our own.
That's right. Yeah, for one thing, let's address this idea. And I've got 20-something-year-olds. They say that to me, too. It's not going to be there. That's just not true. It will be there. It's such an important program for Americans, and it keeps people, so many millions of people above the poverty line. So if you're a young adult, you're listening, or your mom listening, or dad listening, then tell your young adult it's going to be there. So Congress, but there is a shortfall coming, and Congress has to act. So until they do, what can you do? First of all, don't worry about it. Get a plan. You know, the thing about retirement, the time that you want to do it is way before you're going to retire. And I know that's a hard push for the younger you are, but you got to think about your older self. And one of the things you need to do is figure out is your money going to be coming from when you retire. So that's number one. The other thing is go online to the Social Security Administration's website and look for your Social Security statement. Many people have never seen it or haven't seen it for years. So those are the two things you can do right now.
Oh, that's so good. And I want to talk about that plan for a minute because I know there's a lot of folks, young people and older folks alike, who may be in that window of 10 years or 15 years out until they hit that retirement window, who are just kind of hoping their way along. And we always say hope is important, and we shouldn't worry too much, but hope is not a strategy. You got to have that plan, as you were describing.
That's exactly right. Hope is not a plan. I mean, you want to be optimistic, but, one of the things you want to do, and again, I know this is hard. I know everybody's trying to do their life now, but just sort of imagine yourself in your 60s, what's going to be coming in? Do you have a pension? If you don't have a pension, are you saving towards your retirement in either a workplace plan like a 401k, or if your workplace doesn't have one, you still can save for retirement. You can get a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA. And listen, if you can only put $25 in right now, that's fine. Work your way up to, Fidelity Investments recommend about 15% of your gross pay. Now, that's a big number, but, you can work up to it over time. And that's including what you put in, and if your employer has a match that matches some of the money you put in, so that would add up to the 15 total. But I just want people to do something now to get into the habit of saving for retirement, because I tell you, Social Security is going to be there, but it only on average covers about 40% of what people earn before they retire. So that means you got to make up that 60%. Yeah. And if there are changes to Social Security to secure it financially, that percentage might drop down. So that means you've got to do whatever you can right now, particularly in your 20s and 30s, to get moving. The time to plan for retirement isn't when you're about to plan a retirement party.
That's right. Yeah, that's definitely in the day late, dollar short category for sure.
That's right.
So as you look at making that a priority, I love how you frame this, and I think it's important to recognize that if Congress doesn't get things tweaked right, there's only two things we can do. We either raise taxes, raise revenue, so there's more things coming in, or we got to cut the benefits. Those are the things that have to be on the table. As you watch all of those kinds of things swirl, how should we be thinking about it? And again, how do we get back to really making this a priority rather than acting like Congress and kind of kicking the can down the road?
Yeah, it's like anything in life. You have, your pots for your short-term, medium-term things. You got to replace your car at some point, and retirement. And you have to stack it like that. And it has to be at the top of what you do. So before you book that cruise or before you do whatever, get your hair done, think, am I putting some money away for retirement? And I'm serious about that. You got to do this when you have more time on your side, so that if you do it earlier, you don't have to put as much in. If you wait till your late 40s and 50s, then you're going to have to put such a high percentage of your paycheck that it makes it's not possible. Yeah. And so that's why you say you got to make retirement savings a budget priority. So when you're doing your budget for your housing and car and your hair and, the kids, put a little line in there for retirement. And again, if you're struggling, it may only be a couple, $20 or $50 a month. But if you're struggling, you need to hit that 15% sooner rather than later of your gross pay. And take it one day at a time. I don't come from any, so I'm not sitting here going, oh, I know what it's like to struggle, but I also know the importance of making retirement a key part of your budget.
Yeah, that having the strategy, having that plan is so vital, because time and the math either works for you or it works against you, depending on how you do it. And they always leads to the absolute predictability of consequences.
That's right.
So we
That's
have to get to those today. Michelle Singletary, again, if you haven't been following her personal finance column, The Color of Money, get that on your list today. It appears in the Washington Post. And Michelle, thanks so much for joining us today. Great insight as always.
Oh, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
All right, great perspective there. You got to make it a priority, and if you're just waiting around like Congress, that's a tough wait, and the impact will be the math wins. And ultimately, the predictable consequences do come. And so make that a priority today for sure. All right, we'll step aside for one last commercial break. Final thoughts on a Friday here on Inside Sources. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Tim and Amanda.
Do I look forward to reporting the news? Yes, insofar as it helps me understand what's happening.
We know that it's important information that's going to impact people's lives, and so that makes the job of reporting the news that day easier.
Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Well, speaking of money, now is the perfect time for you to check out a Hercules Credit Union Gold Tier checking. Amazingly, you can get a promotional rate, 4.25% on your balance in your checking account. Not a savings account. This is in your checking account. 4.25%. That's an extraordinary thing in your gold tier checking account. You'll also earn points every time you use your debit card. Your points can be redeemed for travel and gifts and cash back. Most important, you're going to have free credit monitoring from Hercules Credit Union. No monthly fees. All of that to help you be confident and growing stronger together, because that's what Hercules Credit Union is all about, growing stronger together. They've been doing that since 1946. You can check out their locations in Taylorsville, Harriman, Riverton, or Salt Lake City. Or as always, you can find our friends at Hercules Credit Union. It's always about a relationship, not a transaction. So check them out at HerculesCU.com, HerculesCU.com.
UDOT construction alert. Plan ahead as the northbound I-215 on-ramp to the airport will be closed Friday to Tuesday for bridge maintenance. Plan extra time for an alternate route.
Hi again, it is Tim and Amanda, and we are broadcasting live today at the beautiful new location of Bedrock Quartz. We are at the Summit Center in Park City, and easy to find because it's a frontage road on Rasmussen Road,
right,
which is just to the east side of I-80 as you make your way into Park City.
And we're here with Scott Nichols, and I know a lot of people, Scott, are staying in their homes. They're not moving because the interest rates aren't, smart for that. And so they want to redo that kitchen or bathroom or both.
Yeah, fall in love with their place all over again, and we can really help a ton with that.
And by the way, putting the money into kitchens and bathrooms probably is the biggest moneymaker you can spend your money on right now. It's an investment.
Yeah, experts have said that is the best ROI on investing in your home is in the kitchens and bathrooms, and that's what we specialize here.
Yeah. You've done 2 bathrooms for us, working on a 3rd right now, and I want people to know you're giving something big away, too.
We are, and it's not just today. So all month long, come visit us at our newest location out in Park City and sign up to win $5,000 in products and services from Bedrock Quartz. So we can really take the edge.
Oh, yeah.
Take your budget a bit farther with another $5,000 there.
And by the way, from template to installation, 7 days at Bedrock Quartz, again, 2760 Rasmussen Road here in Park City.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Emergency traffic on KSL News Radio, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. It's a parking lot that just is sitting on northbound I-15. It's due to an injury accident just before 5600 South in Roy that has blocked the right lanes and that exit ramp, causing stop-and-go delays passing Hillfield Road in Layton, overflow delays northbound Highway 89 Layton up to the I-84 junction. Side streets also filling up with delays. We also have a new accident blocking the HOV lane northbound I-15 after 33rd South in Salt Lake County. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Looking for a secure retirement plan without market risk? Look no further. Lyle Boss, president of Boss Financial, specializes in no market risk retirement strategies with guarantees of principal, guaranteed growth, and lifelong income. Join Lyle right here each Saturday and Sunday for his Safe Money radio show, and call him now at 855-355-SAFE for your complimentary customized Safe Money information kit and Safe Money book. Nothing but upside here at 855-355-SAFE.
As a business owner, you don't have time for automated systems. You need real support. Mountain America Credit Union can help businesses of all sizes. Mountain America has the personalized service and financial tools for success. From checking and cash management to merchant services and loans, we can help you reach your goals. Get real results. Get Mountain America Business Services. Loans on approved credit. Membership required based on eligibility. Learn more at macu.com/business.
This Friday from 10 to 1, the movie show comes to Sound Sleep Medical. But first, take the time to learn about a better night's rest. Sound Sleep Medical delivers oral appliance therapy that treats sleep apnea without the use of CPAP machines. They're professionally fit, warranted, and covered by most major medical insurance. In the days of a poor night's sleep, Sound Sleep Medical will help. Call Sound Sleep Medical at 801-716-8672 for details. Sound Sleep Medical.
Spring is a great time to elevate the look of your home and landscape by adding beautiful flowers to the yard and patio. And pros and hobbyists alike know that the best flowers are grown by Olson's Greenhouse, right here in the mountain valleys of Utah. This is Brian with Olson's Greenhouse, and my family has been growing flowers with love and care for over 80 years. That's 4 generations of a local, family-run Utah business. So whether you're looking to add a pop of color to the back patio or a beautiful flower bed to the front landscape, flowers from Olson's Greenhouse are the perfect finishing touch to make your yard a joy to relax in. Stop by ogg.com or find us on Instagram at Olson's Greenhouse Gardens, where you'll find inspiring photos to get you going on your flower gardening journey. You can also find a local retailer carrying plants from Olson's Greenhouse. That's ogg.com for Olson's Greenhouse Gardens, where you can dream big, dream bold, and dream in color with beautiful plants and flowers from Olson's Greenhouse.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, police have released the names of the 2 men killed in an avalanche on Lone Peak yesterday. Austin Mallett was from Montana, Andrew Cameron from Utah. Second, the Stamp Out Hunger Drive is tomorrow. Postal carriers will be picking up bags of food from front porches around Utah. And third, the U.S. Secretary of Defense says Israel is capable of a military operation in Gaza that minimizes harm to civilians. Right now, 63 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Boyd Matheson divides rage from reason on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It's great to be with you today. As always, I am Boyd Matheson. As we close out the day and as we close out the week, rolling into Mother's Day weekend, I want to share a couple of thoughts as we roll into that important day on the calendar. And this is also your heads up, whether you are a child, a spouse, a good friend. Think about the important women in your life. And it's interesting to me as we go through this, this is one of those I often refer to as one of the classic displays of congressional dysfunction and just how disconnected they are from reality. Most people don't recognize, unless you listen to this show, that Congress actually voted against having a Mother's Day holiday multiple times. In fact, the mother of Mother's Day, Anna Jarvis from West Virginia, she gave up on Congress and went back to West Virginia, and she started passing the resolution for the holiday in state legislatures. A little bit of federalism going on there. And after all of the states had passed Mother's Day. Then and only then did Congress and President Woodrow Wilson boldly, courageously step forward and say, we shall have a Mother's Day. Classic congressional